welcome back to World Crisis Radio. So the currency chaos, one of the factors generating all this fear, the rise in the price of gold, partly due to this. As we followed on the broadcast, around the middle of September, Japan began a concerted intervention by the Bank of Japan, going solo, right, unilaterally, dumping yen in the attempt to prevent the yen from going too high, which is in what they're responding to ultimately is the weakness of the U.S. dollar. So that was about 2 to 3 weeks ago. And since then, this has become a big issue. According to the Wall Street Journal, the countries that have been intervening to manage their currencies most energetically would be Taiwan, Republic of China, South Korea, Thailand, Brazil, Colombia, Peru. China in particular, of course, is under attack by the U.S. for managing the renminbi. We had the House of Representatives, before they adjourned, put out a rather demagogic bill that they passed that the U.S. should prepare various kinds of retaliation for the Chinese currency management. That's unlikely to go anywhere as a bill becoming a law, but still indicates the way in which this issue is heating up. So this past week, we have Guido Mantega, the finance minister of Brazil, saying that the U.S., Japan, and other rich nations are letting their currencies weaken. Well, Japan is doing a lot to weaken it, to spur growth that comes at the expense of other exporters like Brazil. So Brazilian Finance Minister Mantega says, we're in the midst of an international currency war. This threatens us because it takes away our competitiveness. Taiwan is a place that has successfully managed their currency. They peg it to the U.S. dollar, and it does not oscillate more than 2%. So the current system of floating rates is inherently unworkable and needs to be replaced by a return to the Bretton Woods system of fixed parities. Easier to do now because the participants at the major level would be fewer, right? Dollar, yen, euro, renminbi, perhaps ruble, perhaps an Arab regional currency, a Latin American regional currency, and so on down the line. The outcome of the currency war and the possible tariff stuff that might also go on is interesting to see. It's certainly clear that the Washington consensus, the neoliberal model of world economic management, is breaking down in the Depression, and that's what freaks out a lot of these monetarists and neoliberals. The question is, what should replace it? I've just told you the return to Bretton Woods. The other thing you can do as an individual country in the meantime that's more effective than currency interventions is to go back to Malaysia in 1998 and impose capital controls and exchange controls. Remember, China has this. You cannot simply pump hot money into China. China will not allow you, whether you're Soros or a hedge fund, to begin manipulating the price of their currency with huge amounts of money because they have controls over that. And those controls are needed by others. Now, the background for this, of course, is the big one is the euro. And the euro right now has gone up, 20 cents almost in the past 3 or 4 months. And it takes us back to this moment in May. The question is the flash crash, right? May 6th of this past year, when the Dow took a 1,000-point dive within about 10 or 15 minutes. That was accompanied, as we have pointed out, that was accompanied by a very sharp drop in the euro compared to the yen. And what this points to, my own interpretation of this, my working hypothesis, is that the flash crash of May 6th was actually intended by the people who carried it out. It was deliberate. It was, of course, concerted, conspiratorial, whatever you want to call it. But the goal of this was to provoke the collapse of the euro. It was a speculative attack on the euro with the goal of generating a panic flight out of the euro, that is, to destroy the euro in a single day. And it failed. And one of the reasons it failed was that what they hadn't factored in this wonderful manipulation with flash trading and high-frequency trading, that as they drove the euro down, they were also driving the New York stock market down, and that they were destroying themselves politically and financially in the same moment that they were attempting to attack the euro. So what do we find here? The Wall Street Journal at the end of last week, Saturday, the 25th of September, and then Monday of this week, the existence of the secret committee to save the euro, a conspiracy admitted here. The secret committee to save the euro, it's extra-governmental. It has no official status in this apparatus of the European Union. It's basically Germany, France, Trichet of the European Central Bank, some Eurogarchs and Eurocrats thrown in, and here's what we get. A Wall Street Journal investigation based on dozens of interviews with officials around the EU reveals that the divisions in the task force, this secret committee, pushed the European Union perilously close to collapse. In early May, just hours before Germany and France broke their stalemate and agreed to endorse a $1 trillion fund to rescue troubled Eurozone members, French Finance Minister Christine Lagarde told her delegation the Eurozone was on the verge of breaking apart, according to people familiar with the matter. The Eurozone's near death would have had a tremendous impact on the world. Government defaults on the European periphery could have triggered a new crisis of the international banking system, with even worse consequences for the global economy than the failure of Lehman. And they could not agree, and then ultimately they did, and they came up with this European bailout fund. What they needed to do, as we said at the time, is strike back at the speculators, strike at finance capital, ban credit default swaps, ban short selling of stocks, bonds, and other things, and begin then to attack those derivatives directly wherever they may be found. The continuation of this article, the role of Trichet in all of this, right, that he had to come in and attempt to prod the governments to go ahead, right, to mediate between Sarkozy and Merkel and the rest, and he was also concerned about the status of the euro. So that, I think, is it's an interesting moment. I would say, generally speaking, it is true that in that period, around the 6th of May, around the time of the flash crash, and in the ramifications that had on the New York side, you came close to another huge international financial panic. And let me just remind you of the previous one. The previous one had been what I call the Kanjorsky moment. Kanjorsky, now he's a congressman, he's trying to get reelected, may not make it. Kanjorsky said in the late fall, early winter of 2008, that on Thursday, the 18th of September 2008, Thursday, the 18th of September 2008, around midday, the Treasury was aware of hundreds of billions of dollars and up into the trillions of hot money that was about to flee out of the dollar and go someplace else, which would have resulted in the collapse of New York, the collapse of the U.S. dollar, the collapse of the U.S. banking system. And this is the moment then that Geithner and company came in with the idea, which was announced that afternoon, the bare bones idea of the TARP bailout. That's all real. The question is, that's the wrong response. What you ought to do then is seize control of the New York banks, announce that their derivatives are going to be wiped out, nationalize the Federal Reserve, and start issuing 0% credit. And then you get out of it. Right now, you're not getting out of it. You're getting deeper into it. So we had a second Kanjorsky moment around May 6th, and it was an attempt to destroy the euro that boomeranged. It misfired, and it almost dragged the whole Anglo-American shebang into the abyss. We'll be back on World Crisis Radio.